Good evening. Tonight is Wednesday, February 26th, and I will be reviewing the alerts that were given out through by Stockwits Academy today. So we'll go in chronological order at the time of each alert and look at the chart at that time to see what the trade would have been. So the first alert that was given out was Meta. So we'll look at that chart. That alert was given out at 7:36. And usually I look at the 5-minute chart first to see if there's a setup. So if we look at the chart at 7:36, that would be right on this candle right here. At that time, you can see that everything was in an uptrend. So all of your moving averages are going up. MACD is going up. And your 200 EMA was kind of going straight across, not quite up. But anyways, at that time, this would have been a good entry point for this trade. So at 7:36, Meta was called out, and if you would have got in here, you could have got a nice, we were also on VWAP, and we got above VWAP. So if you'd have got in here, you would have got a nice little upside to that trade at that time. So that was a nice alert given at 7:36. Next, we had MU. That was given at 7:37. So we'll look at the chart at 7:37. Again, it's the 5-minute chart. We'll bring up 7:37, which would be right on this 7:35 candle. If you look at the chart at this time, again, you can see MACD is in an uptrend. Moving averages are all in an uptrend. The chart was looking quite nice, but it's a little risky here because it's outside of the Bollinger Bands. So you know there's going to be a pullback. So your best bet here would have been to wait, not enter right away, wait for the pullback, and then get in here for a nice little trade. If you would have got in right at the alert, you still could have got a nice trade, but you would have had to be careful because you know it was going to pull back somewhere along the line because we were outside the Bollinger Bands here and we were quite extended on the RSI as well. So there was a pullback. This is where your entry would have been, a nice entry, and you would have got a nice clean setup there of consecutive green candles on the 5-minute. The next alert that was given was Microsoft, and that was at 7:38. So we'll look at Microsoft, 7:38, and these are all calls. Today, let's see, we did have a couple puts later on today, but these were all calls. So Microsoft, 7:38. So let's look at the 7:35 candle, which is this big green candle right here. If you looked at the chart at that time, again, you would see that your moving averages are all in an uptrend. Price was above VWAP, which is this purple line. But we did have a few moving averages that are a little bit on a downtrend, but they're not a steep decline. So it would have been worth entering this trade here, and you would have caught a nice upside to it there. Got a nice trade out of it. Again, here it was rejecting on the 200 SMA, finally got over, back and forth. It just wasn't worth it to hold through all this chop. So if you take your profits when you can, get into this trade, get out, you had a nice trade there. Next, we had AMD. AMD was given at 7:39. So let's look at this chart at 7:39. That would have been this is the 7:35 candle. So looking at this chart right at that time, you wouldn't have wanted to enter here because, for one thing, all these wicks, your moving averages are kind of all over the place. You've got some going down, some going up. I mean, MACD was going up, but it was below the 0 line. So this would not have been a good entry point here. And you can see price really dropped here. This is where you could have caught a reversal. We had the tweezer bottom, price kind of hung around, rejected again down here. And then you could have caught a nice little trade upside to this trade right here. But again, this was high risk because everything it wasn't a perfect setup. I like a perfect setup when all the moving averages are all heading in the right direction along with MACD. That's your ideal setup. This one wasn't, but you could have caught some reversal. I don't like to try and catch reversals just because they're higher risk. I like trading with a trend, but this would have been an okay trade here. Next we had coin. Coin was called out at 7:41, alerted at 7:41. So let's look at coin at 7:41. Okay, so we were looking right. This candle is 7:40. So when the alert was called out for coin, as you can see, the moving averages, some of them are going up, and this is the that's the 113 SMA is going down. The higher the number of the moving average, if it's in the opposite direction, it's kind of less risky. There still is risk. It's going to reject on those lines, but it's less risky if it's the higher numbers going down. Whereas you don't want your 9 EMA or 8 SMA to be going downwards. So these were all going up. This is the 20, the pink is the 8, the light blue is the 10. So those were all going up. This one's going down. If you'd have got in right here, you could have caught a little, and MACD is going up as well. So there was a bit of risk, but it wasn't too high risk. So you could have got in here and caught a nice little trade going up. And then actually, then the rest of the day, there wasn't much of a trade left for coin. Next, we had OKLO. That was given at 7:41, same time as coin. Yep. So let's look at the chart 7:41, which is right on this red candle right here. So looking at this chart on the 5-minute, right when the alert was given out, price was right on VWAP. You could have waited till you got a clearance of VWAP. Obviously, you could go to the lower time frames. I usually just look at the 5-minute. But this trade looked okay because we had MACD going up. All your moving averages are going up. And it's above VWAP here, so you could have caught a nice little trade here. But it was a short trade, obviously. You got a few green candles out of it on the 5-minute. And hopefully you got in and out fast. And that was the extent of the trade on OKLO. Next we had U. U was given at 7:44. Oh, that's a swing. Okay. So I'm not going to review the swing trades because it doesn't really mean much in the day trading, which is what I like to do, or what we're doing is just day trading. If you take a swing, that's up to you. I'm not going to analyze them. Next we had CCJ. That was given at 7:46. So let's just look here at 7:46. That would have been on this candle here. Okay, so this alert given on these green candles, on this green candle in particular, if you look to the 5-minute chart, you would think, well, everything's looking good, like all your moving averages are going up. But if you look at the Bollinger Bands, you can see that price is outside of the Bollinger Band. And anytime price goes outside of the Bollinger Band, it's not going to continue, especially here. Look how far it is from the Bollinger Band there. So it's going to be a reversal because it has to pull it back in. And that's exactly what happened here. So when the alert was given, you didn't want to jump right in because you can see that price was way outside the Bollinger Band, continued outside, it was going to reverse. So you could have waited for the reversal. It came down to the VWAP. Again, if you got in here, you would have got a bit of an upside to it here. And then obviously it reversed again. Also, the wider the moving averages get apart, then the more likely you're going to have a pullback as well. So this trade, you wouldn't have had much of an opportunity at either point because of the pullbacks, and you didn't get much upside to it. Again, if you wrote it out here to the VWAP, you could have got another bit of an upside, but you wouldn't have caught much of a trade on CCJ today. Next, we had ONON, and that was given at 7:49. Sorry, my dog is sneezing in the background here. Okay, ONON at 7:49. So again, we'll look at this chart when the alert was given. This is a 7:45 candle. Again, you know, seeing these green candles, your first instinct is to jump in because you think price is going up. But again, like Mike always says, don't just jump in because look at here, you're outside of the Bollinger Bands and price reversed. So this would not have been a good entry point, even though all your moving averages are going up, your MACD is going up, but not a good entry point because obviously price reversed. So you didn't have much of a trade there for a call. If you wanted to try a put, you could have. You could have caught some downside, and then obviously if you held, you'd have caught a lot of downside here. Next we had Nike NKE. That was given at 751. I'm not giving the prices of the calls. I'm just, because it wouldn't matter what price it's at. It's whether the chart goes up or down. Okay, so 751. Let's just look at, that would have been 750 here. So when the alert was given, this was definitely not an good entry point. You can see everything's in a downtrend, but this is where you could have caught a reversal. If you look at the different time frames, you might have seen where this is going to reverse. But on the 5-minute, it reversed here. You kind of had a tweezer bottom candle. And then, of course, if you'd have got in there, you'd have caught the upside here. So you'd have caught a nice upside on the reversal if you were watching this chart. And then again, you could have caught another reversal here. It looks like it came down to the 50 SMA, which is kind of where it got hung up here as well. If you'd have got out, you could have got back in here, caught another upside, and then from there it reversed back down. That was Nike. Next we had Baba, and that was at 752. So let's just look at Alibaba here, and that's at 752. Okay, so 752, which is right on this candle. This chart, again, you can see the wick there. I'll move this over. You can see the wick was right outside the Bollinger Band, so you knew there was going to be a pullback. And again, your moving averages are far apart, so your best bet here would have been wait for the pullback. It rode the VWAP. This purple line is VWAP, and then caught some upside here. It reversed again at this exact spot where it did on this wick, and then went down from there. So you could have caught, at this point, you could have caught the downside, because as you can see here, the MACD crossed back down, and then that started the whole decline on this chart. Okay, next we had Carvana at 754. So CVNA was called out, alerted at 754. So let's just look at this one. 754 would have been right on this candle here. So if you looked at the chart, again, here, everything's looking good. All your moving averages are going up. MACD is going up. This candle here was a little risky because there's no wick, so it's just flat. So you had a chance of like a tweezer top. Of course, and like I mentioned about the width between the moving averages, when they start to widen, it's going to pull back. It did here. You could have got in here when it pulled back to VWAP, caught a nice little upside there, and that was Carvana. And then the rest of the day was just sort of choppy back and forth. Next we had IWM, and as Mike pointed out, this was a high risk, extreme high risk. It was a 0 DTE, and it was called out at 758. So let's look at 758. This is 755, so right around here. So this was a bit of a pullback on this chart, but like he said, it was high risk. MACD was going up, but it didn't have a nice big gap on it. Your moving averages were going up, but they weren't clean. The 200 EMA was kind of flat, so this definitely was risky. You wouldn't have had much of a trade out of it, and then it got choppy after that. If you would have followed this as it held VWAP, once it broke below, that's where you had a trade that was actually a put. So that was the chart for IWM. Next we had MSTR. That was called out at 759. Okay, so at 759, which is right here, well, that's the 8, so say 755. If you would have looked at this chart at the time of the alert given, you can see that some of the moving averages were going up. MACD had just crossed over and was starting to go up, but again, you had these moving averages, the 113 SMA and the 113 EMA, that's the blue and the black, are going down. So that would have been risky because you've got these in a downtrend, these in an uptrend. Nothing's clean, so this would have been a high risk. If you'd have got in, you wouldn't have got much upside. And again, it was really choppy. It just still kept rejecting. So your real trade really came near the end of the day, which was right here. You can see you were getting a line of support right here. That was at the 247.09. So if you drew that line, waited for it to touch down again, and then that's when it really took off nicely. So you could have caught a nice trade at the end of the day there. But the trade in the morning would have been high risk for sure. And that was MSTR. Next we had CELH. CELH was given at 8 o'clock. So let's just look at the chart at 8. That would have been right here on this red candle. Again, looking at this chart, you've got some moving averages going up, some coming down. These two weren't even on the chart here. And all these wicks, when you have long wicks, it's definitely high risk because it's meaning it's trying to drive the price back down. So this would not have been a good entry point. If you watch this chart all day, obviously your good entry point would have been right down here. So it got right back down to this level where it had been, that's yesterday, and it rejected there, and then you would have caught a nice trade right there. So that was CELH. Next we had SMCI, that was a swing. Next we had Reddit, RDDT at 8:34. So let's look at Reddit at 8:34. Okay, so where are we? Right here. Okay, so this is actually 8:34. So at the time the alert was given, if you looked at the chart, this actually looked like a really nice setup. It's clean. All your moving averages are going up. MACD is in an incline as well. Price here was just touching VWAP, but on the next candle it got over VWAP and then it kept continuing up. So you would have caught a nice upside to this trade at the time the alert was given and rode it up. And again, like Mike says, take your profits when you can. My rule of thumb is I'll hold through one red candle on the 5-minute, and you could do that like on the 3-minute too or whatever. I try and do one red candle on the 5-minute. If I get into a second red candle, then I get out. At least it gives me a chance to catch some more upside and sit through a red candle. Or you could also be watching it holding the 9 EMA, which it did here. But I find once it starts to touch down and go back up, because of time decay, you're basically, if you'd have got out here, you're at the same price here, or even worse off. So it's best to get out when you have profits at a nice point. Don't hang on too long. After Reddit, then we had NU, that was a swing. CMG, that was a swing. 8:48, we had NNE. Okay, so NNE at 8:48. Let's look at that one. Okay, 8:48, that's right. Here's 9, 8, 8:45. Oh, that's this big green candle right here. Okay. So when the alert was given, that was at 8:48. It was a call. You can see that everything's on an uptrend here. So if you wanted to look at MACD wasn't strong. Stronger is a bigger gap between these two lines. Here's a lower gap, but it's still in an uptrend. All your moving averages are in an uptrend. If you would have got in on this candle, you would have had a bit of an upside. You could have held and got a little more upside. There was still some upside left on this trade for the day. So that was NNE. Next we had EWZ, that was a swing. 9:28 we had CVX. So we'll bring up CVX. at 928. Let's have a look at that one. CVX at 928, that's right around here. Looking at this chart right here would not be a good entry point because all your moving averages are in a downtrend. MACD is below the zero line, and it's not a good strong MACD. So of course this was not a good place to enter. And was that a call? CVX. Yeah, that was a call. But if you looked at this chart and you saw everything in a downtrend, MACD wasn't strong. This actually would have been an okay spot to enter a put. Because if you're looking at the chart and you see all the moving averages are going down, usually that's a good indication that price is going to go down. So this you could have entered as a put. So that's CVX. Next we had Netflix. That was a call at 10:02. So let's look at Netflix at 10:02. Okay, so that's, oops, right, where's 10? We're way over here. Okay, 10 o'clock, Netflix, right here. So this chart, when you would have looked at it at this time, what's the first thing we see is MACD is in a downtrend. And even though we've got some moving averages in an uptrend, they're not a strong uptrend. This one's almost flat. VWAP is flat. This one's trying to curl up. But for the most part, this would not have been a strong entry point. It's not a good setup. And obviously, that's exactly what happened. Price ended up going down instead of up. So next we had CCL. CCL, and this was a put at 10:05. So let's look. This is Carnival Cruise Line, 10:05, which is a put. Okay, so if you would have looked at this chart at this time, this was a nice setup, other than a few of your moving averages were going up. But usually what I also look for is the 8 SMA crossing over the 20, which is the light pink. It was below the 20. All your smaller moving averages were in a downtrend. MACD was in a downtrend. So this would have been a good entry point for a put. And this would have been a nice trade because if you got in when it was alerted at 10:05, which is right here, you really could have caught a nice downtrend right to there. Because again, like I said, my rule is one green candle when I'm in a put. Here, there was two, but this one wasn't a strong candle. So you could have caught a nice downtrend and caught a super nice trade today on CCL. Next we had Walmart put. That was a swing. Let's just look at Walmart for a sec, because yesterday Walmart was a really nice chart. It went up all day. Today, obviously, it went down. So if you got in on the swing, say it was at 10:11, which is right around here, you got in on a swing, but you could have made money today already and got out of that trade. But again, I don't want to talk about swings. Next, we had Tesla at 10:14. It was a call. Let's look at the chart here. 10:14 Tesla, which was, I can tell right now this is not going to be good. 10:14, right here. Was trying to cross VWAP, but again, no confirmation over VWAP, so there was not a trade there for a call. And you can see these moving averages are in a downtrend. Just about everything is in a downtrend. And as a matter of fact, if you looked at that chart, it would have been a good entry for a put. So you could have caught a nice downside there. TSLL was next, which was also a swing. And then lastly, we had DKNG, which was given at 11:34 DraftKings, and 11:34. Let's just find that. I'm assuming it's right around here. Oh, right. Well, okay, right. 11:45 right here. Oh, what did I say? 11:34. Okay, so, right here. So, and that was a call. So when you looked at the chart here again, your moving averages are not in an uptrend. They're actually flat. MACD is in a downtrend. this could have been a good entry for a put because it rejected off a VWAP and went down, but there was no trade there for a call. So that wraps up the trades for today. These are all the alerts that were given out Wednesday, February 26th. And I hope everyone did well today trading. It was a crazy day, and good luck tomorrow. Thanks for watching.